don't you walk the wheel with us? What is the matter, my American friend? What has upset you? A bad machine doesn't matter if he's a bad machine. You still don't believe it. You still don't believe you're a bad machine. To know yourself is to know God, my friend. The factory knows. That's why they put you here. You'll see. You'll find out. In time, you'll know.
Oh, I know. I already know. I know that you are a bad machine. That's why the factory keeps you here. Do you know how I know, huh? I know because I'm from the factory. I make the machines.
You're listening to Jim Dynamo's Bad Machine, home of the intellectual smackdown, where thought exists without error and truth knows no compromise. No quarter is asked, and no quarter is given, as the lies that bind us to the bad machine are torn asunder with unassailable fact and unquestionable reason. So put on your thinking caps and strap yourselves in, and stand by for the original man machine, Jim Dynamo.
When your bags ain't packed.
Space and related industries are generating new demands in investment and skilled personnel. And this city, and this state, and this region will share greatly in this growth. What was once the furthest outpost on the old frontier of the West will be the furthest outpost on the new frontier of science and space. Your city of Houston, with its manned spacecraft center, will become the heart of a large scientific and engineering community. During the next 5 years, the National Aeronautic and Space Administration expects to double the number of scientists and engineers in this area, to increase its outlays for salaries and expenses to $60 million a year, to invest some $200 million in plant and laboratory facilities, and to direct or contract for new space efforts over $1 billion from this center in this city. But if I were to say, my fellow citizens, that we shall send to the moon 240,000 miles away from the control station in Houston, a giant rocket more than 300 feet tall, the length of this football field, made of new metal alloys, some of which have not yet been invented, capable of standing heat and stresses several times more than have ever been experienced, fitted together with a precision better than the finest watch, carrying all the equipment needed for propulsion, guidance, control, communications, food, and survival, on an untried mission to an unknown celestial body, and then return it safely to Earth, re-entering the atmosphere at speeds of over 25,000 miles per hour, causing heat about half that on the temperature of the sun, almost as hot as it is here today, and do all this, and do all this, and do it right, and do it first before this decade is out, then we must be bold. This country was conquered by those who move forward, and so will space. For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon, and to the planets beyond. And we have vowed that we shall not see it governed by a hostile flag of conquest, but by a banner of freedom and peace. We have vowed that we shall not see space filled with weapons of mass destruction, but with instruments of knowledge and understanding. There is no strife, no prejudice, no national conflict in outer space as yet. Its hazards are hostile to us all. Its conquest deserves the best of all mankind, and its opportunity for peaceful cooperation may never come again. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
50 years ago this week, in the days of broadcast analog TV, the national broadcast company, NBC, debuted their newest idea for television. The creator of the show, Gene Roddenberry, described it to the NBC executives as Wagon Train to the Stars. Wagon Train was a Western serial that ran on television from 1957 to 1965. It featured the adventures of California-bound show-me-staters who blazed a trail from Missouri to the Golden State, fulfilling young America's manifest destiny to be a land bordered by the great oceans of the Atlantic and the Pacific. Roddenberry's new concept that would inspire American television viewers would copy the idea, but setting the American spirit for adventure and exploration not in the unexplored plains of our great nation. Roddenberry would hurl his new American heroes into the ultimate void. America's newest television heroes would explore space, the final frontier. On September 8, 1966, Americans gathered around their television sets and were transported to a future that has paralleled our own lives while at the same time defining, inspiring, then redefining our own 20th and 21st century realities. Gone were the dusty trails and the unocculted sun that beat down on sweaty pioneers. That was now replaced with the cool climate-controlled decks of a diode-lit starship, the Enterprise. The California-bound pioneers were now a crew of international scientists, reflecting every nation on the Earth and all its people, working together for a common cause, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, and to blaze for all mankind a trail, a vision that would help mankind reach the manifest destiny the American President John F. Kennedy dared us all to achieve, to boldly go where no man has gone before. Roddenberry's 23rd century explorers would hurl the 20th century television viewer into the future and beyond as the faster-than-light vessel traveled from adventure to adventure at warp speed. Not only would the world of the 1960s meet strange fictional aliens, the science fiction subculture would be introduced to one of its greatest icons, the half-human, half-Vulcan Mr. Spock. Weekly viewers and growing legions of fans would meet other alien species like the Halkans, the dancing green-skinned Orions, the ancient Talosians, the Horta, the war-loving Klingons, even a species identical to the Vulcan crewman Spock, the Ramuli, members of his own world who in their ancient times abandoned that planet to explore the space between the planets. Viewers would be introduced to dozens of fictional species of aliens with varied levels of technology in the hopes to present a narrative tale that highlighted the future explorer's credo of peaceable exploration and non-interference, the Prime Directive. That is not to say the Space Exploring Federation of Worlds was a paper tiger. Earth's flagship, the Constitution-class vessel called Enterprise, was indeed a warship when it needed to be, and its master, Earth's and TV dinner-consuming America's favorite future hero, James Tiberius Kirk, was its greatest warrior. Jim Kirk, played by the actor William Shatner, was born in Riverside, Iowa. Better yet, will be born in Riverside, Iowa, on March 22nd, 2228, 212 years from today. Kirk, with his first officer, the hybrid Mr. Spock, played by Leonard Nimoy, and Dr. McCoy, played by the blue-eyed DeForest Kelley, would appear on roughly 79 episodes of the original Star Trek that broadcast from 1966 to 1969. They would voice the same characters in a short-lived animated series, also broadcast on NBC. And, because of market demand, America, better still, Earth's favorite future space explorers, would star in the majority of the 13 Star Trek motion pictures. The popularity of the 1960s science fiction series spawned 4 additional television series: The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise. In the latest batch of films starring Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, and Carl Urban as Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock, and Dr. McCoy respectively, have spurred enough interest for a 5th television serial, Star Trek Discovery, starting sometime in the 2017 season. For 50 years now, Star Trek, a beloved fiction, has inspired generations of people to envision a better future. Star Trek has also inspired 50 years of derision as academics shoot down these science fiction-born inventions as improbable, and sports fanatics who chide their peers for their nerdy affectation while always ignoring their own. But Gene Roddenberry has been vindicated by the legions of fans who have been inspired to take those 1960s fictions and make them a reality. The most ardent anti-Star Trek individual would never argue that the automatic sliding door at the supermarket or at the home supply outlet is less convenient than the revolving door of the past. That automatic sliding door was created on Star Trek. The most dismissive of Trekkies type of person, even now, is wearing a Captain Kirk-styled cell phone on his hip. That phone is a Star Trek communicator. Those parents that would never watch the tagline-laden 60s serial would never realize until now the smartphone their grandchildren are hunting Pokemon with is Mr. Spock's tricorder scanning device. Even the internet that you're using to listen to Bad Machine is a world communication system described first on Star Trek. Your MRI, Star Trek. Your talking smart automobile, Star Trek. Your smart home, Star Trek. Your GPS, Star Trek. Your Siri interactive voice search engine, Star Trek. Your desktop computer, Star Trek. Your iPad, Star Trek. Just take a look at those 50-year-old television shows, and while the protagonists do the talking, check out the people in the background with their noses buried in handheld electronic devices, boards, and pads. Now look at your train, bus, your office and coffee shop, and what do you see? Everybody with their noses buried in handheld electronic devices and pads. Face it, sports fan, you dropped the ball with this one. Just do yourself a favor and don't stand so close to the guy in the red shirt. The Star Trek mythos has been embraced more so than any other 20th century pop culture expression, and its reach into your daily life has been so overwhelming and so pervasive that most people do not realize that their lives have been made more convenient because of the science fiction fantasies of men who spent their teenage years wearing pointed rubber ears and flashing ancient Hebrew symbols like modern-day gangbangers as to attest to their own affiliation and commitment to the Starfleet mission. So don't worry if your son would rather learn the Vulcan neck pinch than learn how to throw a football, or that your daughter would rather own a sky-searching telescope than a Barbie playhouse. That interest will instill a knowledge of biology and physiology that may give rise to a renowned doctor, just as that telescope might give birth to the next generation of cosmologists employed by NASA, America's own space pioneers who named their own flagship shuttlecraft Enterprise. Gene Roddenberry's 23rd century wagon train to the stars fantasy will continue to grow and mature along with middle-aged, space-age exploration, and as the writers and filmmakers of the science fiction fantasy daringly challenge our real-world inventors and scientists to create the technological means to allow us all, mankind as a species, to live long and prosper. The future awaits.
Computer? End program.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise.
Its continuing mission:
to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations,
to boldly go where no man has gone before.
You really think it's that serious?
Serious. Serious, Bones. It upsets the whole percentage.
How do you mean?
Well, in a few years, the Iosians may demand a piece of our action.
Bad Machine. Are you ready to get blitzed? Prepare yourself for life's uphill battle. Master Trainer Jim D's Fitness Blitz training techniques will make you stronger, more determined, and ready for any challenge.